Moving on, an Anambra native doctor, Chidozie Wangu, popularly known as Akwa okuko, is facing 6 charges from the state government, including alleged involvement in money rituals and suspected ties to drug dealers. If he's convicted, he could face up to 20 years in prison. He was arrested earlier this month after Governor Charles Soludo declared a crackdown on native doctors amidst all the rising criminal activities in the state. Now, lots of people are sharing the sentiments online and asking the question, are we criminalizing sacred religious practices of traditional religion? I beg to differ. I really do think that it's one thing to practice traditional religion and a completely other story to use traditional religion as a means to commit crime.
Na obodo de kwa oku. Akwa okuko tiwala aki na face 6 count charges. That is ebubo eboli enisi. Ma egwu ogwu ego, ma money laundering o, ma nke nwanu. That is ebugo ebubo nisi. And in AJ court we find they guilty. 20 years ko yeje na mkpolo. Ona egwu. Soludo do very mean now. Soludo do very mean now. So inwekwa nwanne na-eme dibia na Anambra State isi anya agbabakwa. Of course, I can ekwu okwu nke akwa. Unu cheta na akpudo onye eze Jesus nke ya apụta very soon. Akpujekwa eke hit na Okeja nke ya apụta very soon. Kelufa amaboro ma akpurugbo mmili enwilo and so many of them man pass man nke nwanu. Aya puta fanta for case fanti na megini ya apụta. So kono malukwa na Soludo do mean. Of course, a couple of days ago, I for the Minister of Information na Anambra State ebe opụta wee kwuo okwu wee sị that na enweta nke ị na-eme oke ite ma ọ ba were na nke 20 years in prison na ada akọcha ya akọcha.
And after investigation, once we confirm things we suspect, we charge them to court. This is very clear. So only na agwọ oke ite agwọ makuru na akpọ odu akọ mmiri awele only na agwọ ife niile ha ncha niile iwu ji ekita ahụ.
So ka onye ọbụla gbadokwa anya onye ọbụla gbado anya biko ka hapụ gị ka ịnene video then drop all na comment ihe chere maka ya
and a completely other story to use traditional religion as a means to commit crime. I'm going to take some social media. He's very popular in the East. Paul Twin says this is a proper witch hunt. All these charges are exactly the same thing every pastor is guilty of. They all pray for the same fraudsters and Yahoo boys. I have no connection with this man, but he's simply being made an example of. It took almost 2 weeks to charge him properly. Grandpa Frank says, you mean he can't disappear from custody and appear in his living room? Valid question. And finally, Wisdom says, I want to believe he has enough charms to deliver himself from the encumbrances of the law. Those who claim to have the powers to deliver others from difficulties should be able to deliver themselves. Not only are you feasting on the naivety and the gullibility of the populace, you are now committing crime. Unacceptable, and I hope that justice prevails.
We're talking about the man who is arrested for ritual and drug abuse. I'll tell you a very short story. Somebody was saying in that tweet that, so you mean that he doesn't have the power to teleport himself from the prison? All the wishes, when the Russia-Ukraine war started, all the wishes in Ukraine, they came together to curse Russian president, but we see that the Russian president is still standing today. So you do not fight government, you can't fight government and win, no matter what power, esoteric power that you wield, you can't defeat the government. That's the bottom line. Veronica.
Now for the guy who is in prison, we saw yesterday that some native doctors were protesting, and we said that they had a right to do so because perhaps if they feel that the steps and the policies of the state government is, hampering their activities, then they needed to speak up. But when we see someone like this, 20 years imprisonment, if he's found guilty at the end of the day, I feel is too small in my perspective. Look at the number of persons that have died as a result of his activities. They went to his shrine, they saw evidence. So what will they plan to do at the end of the day? Is 20 years enough to give closure to families who lost their loved ones as a result of his activities? That's a big question. So he needs to face the full wrath of the law if he is found guilty. And right now, I don't think he is not guilty. Now, this is me speaking.
Let me quickly add one more thought. for the man, contributing to ritualism, we should be very careful because one of the tweets saying that is it a fight against traditional religion, whether it is Christian religion or Islamic religion or traditional religion. I believe that none of these religions, teaches to be fetish. I mean, when you say fetish, to kill your fellow human being because you're seeking money or because you're seeking wealth or anything, that is crime, that is criminal. So whoever is found wanting, guilty of this criminality must be dealt with.
Absolutely, and I think his case is particularly interesting because he's being celebritized. He has amassed a status and a following. in the East, and young people need to see that this is not okay and we are not celebrating.
But back to the guy who is in prison, a native doctor. We have seen the rise in ritualism, and we need to make ensure that we teach this notion that ritualism is not the way to go, because a lot of young persons have seemingly adopted that as against working smart and hard to achieving their dreams. So it's important that these lessons are taught.
Look at the two young women that just passed away a few months ago, back to back, bodies found butchered. It's unacceptable, Monica. I agree with you.
Femicide is not acceptable. Anyway, we'll have to leave things here now. Thank you so much, Olamide, for bringing us those stories on what.
No. Please arrest this man, please. We cannot tolerate this. This is from only a back his name. That is the right. Only a back Only State. How do you occupy this space? Go there, go. If I come here, did ever. One only man did it in there. Now, this is security things are buying. There are many melody in Abia State. I will that you. We don't need to do that. Because Abu Moye, on the year man, he melody. Now, Abia State, I mean, that is because of the that they call the program. No, not at all. Not at all. I am part here. I don't know. Yeah, who will detain you? Once we detain you, then the lion that taking the year up. We cannot tolerate this kind of thing. I'm asking you, tell Didi be in there. Even the like a warrior, you can name it. It's on never follow on Gamon. See, because I park in motor. They park in that boat. Today park in motor. Okay, who is that your friend? What is this? You will ndị mmiri ka ịbabata n'obodo mmadụ ejuru ese obodo ebe nwe constituted authority kedu onye permit ichi wee palụ dibia palụ ma ọgwụ bụ ihe niile bata na Enugu agụ gịnị what is this?
Just normal ndị otu ma ọ bụrụ ihe ọzọ ọ ndị mmiri nothing again
but we have to search everywhere.
We search everywhere biko that is search biko abụrụ m ajọ mmadụ adịghị m ajọ ife biko mkpọkụrụ ọga nwekekwa ebe a kịta a ga-ekwugwu gị ya maka ije efu ndị obodo asị achọ imezi normal ofu na efu ndị obodo niile banye ime my mom nothing again ihe na-adị ihe ọbụla ya afụ ọ na-eme ajọ ihe biko mechukwu na-ayọ bụ biko ibido ụdị ya ọ ya anwụrụ obodo ahụ iyi gbara obodo ahụ ndụ o nwere ya eme ka ọrụ ajọ ọrụ bịa banye moto iwe kọwa onwe na ya mara ya ọzọ anyị ata amaghị nsị kịta na ebe ala anyị aka anyị ọchabeghị dibịa nọba anyị anyị yaba ndị ezi ya abata
Soludo is not playing. Ihe awụ onye eze Jesus in anyị funeji over 200 policemen ya grab onye eze Jesus, a pastor and native doctor. Eke hit a grab go 2 days ago. Apokutuara Kenoba last week. Understand me? So Oborna, these 3 people no one can worry go kite. Oborna, these 3 people no one can worry go kite. Namu. Oborna, 3 of them no one can worry go kite. Ibobo. This is the high time for you. Ewa your family member, ewa your people, ewa your loved ones, your ATM pin, how much you have in your account, how many accounts you have, and your investment, where you keep your investment.
Akwa ngwa kele ihe ichelu drop all comment gị na comment section. Oh, daalụ ka Chukwu gọzie gị.